Brought to you by the 2015 Acura TLX.
Everyone tends to make the joke that women in computer science are like unicorns. We kind of just don't exist.
For a long time, computer science has been seen as a men's field.
All we talk about is Steve Jobs and Bill Gates.
Grace Hopper is by far one of the most enigmatic characters in computer science.
She came to computing when computing was not a discipline, it was not a profession.
Grace Hopper was way ahead of her time. She was disruptive long before that was an accepted expression.
I don't think we would ever have heard of Grace Hopper if it weren't for an event on December 7th, 1941.
41 was Pearl Harbor. The world was in a very, very critical state. Everybody in the country tried to do something for that war effort.
During World War II, there was this call for women to step into the roles of men.
The second birthday of the waves, America's Women of the Navy. In Cedar Falls, Iowa, they celebrate by setting out for nearby farms to help relieve farm labor shortages.
World War II was a war of science. And in order to have a war of science, it becomes a war of mathematics as well. So some of the most important problems that needed to be solved were ballistics tables.
So they went and they hired women and gave them the title of computer. So the computers were a group of women hand calculating these ballistics trajectories.
They'd break the problem down, and then 2 or 3 days later you'd come back and you'd have the problem solved.
I had long wanted to join the Navy as well, but I was a college professor teaching mathematics. However, I finally got permission to leave Vassar.
Grace had great difficulty in joining the Navy. First of all, she was in her mid-30s already. And secondly, she failed the physical.
I was 37 years old. The Navy considers that I should weigh 140 pounds. I weighed 105 pounds.
The recruiter didn't really know what to do with her, so they assigned her to this secret project at Harvard.
I walked in the door, and Commander Aiken looked up at me and said, "Where the hell have you been?" He then waved his hand at Mark I, all 51 feet of her, and he said, "That's a computing engine."
A triumph of mathematical and mechanical skill is this great new automatic calculator at Harvard University, designed to expedite all forms of mathematical and scientific research.
I'd always loved a good gadget, and I'm afraid that in my heart, when I first saw Mark I, my first thought was, gee, that's the prettiest gadget I ever saw.
Howard Aiken was a graduate student in physics at Harvard. When the war started, he went back to the reserves and started working for the Navy again during the war. And he decided to run the Mark I program like a military operation. So he was the commander, and his ship was this computer. And if you're going to play by the rules of the military, you have to accept that the number 2 officer that you were sent was a woman. And when he first met her, he was horrified that that would be his number 2 in charge. But Hopper was so good at figuring out how to make this machine work that within a few months, she really became indispensable to Howard Aiken.
She was not interested in the side of the computer that you could kick, she used to say. She liked what became called the programs.
What was interesting about the Mark I is its input system actually was paper tape. So when I say they were coding, they were actually punching a code into paper tape, and that paper tape then ran through the machine. So at the same time that Mark I is in Harvard, there's another secret project funded by the Army called ENIAC.
The ENIAC was enormous, so big that, in fact, people worked inside it.
So after the men had built this enormous hardware, they went and they picked 6 women, and these women were handed the wiring diagrams of the ENIAC and kind of told, well, could you just make it do that differential calculus equation? Which they did, and they did it without manuals, without programming languages. It was a magnificent and almost impossible task.
So wherein the Mark I could only do calculations at 3 per second, the ENIAC could do it at 5,000 per second.
Everything was hurry up, do it yesterday. So the pressure to keep the only computers we had running was very, very strong. and Mark I ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They were working terribly hard, very, very long days. A large part of the pressure also came from Howard Aiken himself, because he was a very stern taskmaster.
Mark I was fully functional during the war and was solving critical war problems. The most important problem that her team solved during this period was given to her by a man named John von Neumann. What she didn't know was John von Neumann was working for the Manhattan Project at the time. And there's a very complicated partial differential equation problem that needs to be solved that could not be solved if he used traditional methods like using human beings. So he brings the problem in the fall of '44 to Hopper and her team. It takes them 3 months to solve the problem. And they figure out how to make a ball collapse upon itself and know where to put the force points on that sphere to cause it to collapse like that. She finds out after the war that she had solved the implosion problem for the nuclear bomb. This is the same bomb that is then dropped on Japan, and 6 days later the war ends. After the war, Grace Hopper is not allowed to become a professor at Harvard because they don't have women as professors. She's not allowed to continue as a naval officer because they're wrapping up the WWII program. She's now in her 40s, she's divorced, she has no children. The two things that were defining her at this moment, being an expert in a field that really didn't exist yet, and being a naval officer, are taken away from her.
In 1946, 2 American scientists named John W. Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert gave technical leadership to a group which created a truly different approach to data processing.
Eckert and Mauchly Corporation, this first computer startup, I think becomes her saving grace.
Eckert-Mauchly Computer Corporation was designed to commercialize the computer, and Grace came in as head of the software division.
They also recruit some of the women that had worked on the ENIAC. They dominated the computer space. Hopper's startup, the Eckert and Mauchly Corporation, was bought by Remington Rand. And the next device that they work on is a device called the UNIVAC.
UNIVAC 1 was the breakthrough computer. It was introduced in 51, 52. It became synonymous with the word computer for years to come.
So just like we say Kleenex for tissues or Coke for soda, in the 50s you said UNIVAC for computer.
In the early days, there were a proliferation of all these small computer companies building their own computers. And pretty quickly it became obvious that they couldn't speak to each other.
So Grace Hopper was one of the first people who started advocating for a programming language that would be machine independent.
I've driven a large number of people, at least partially nuts. After all, insisting on talking to computers in plain English was a totally ridiculous idea, and you couldn't do that, except it worked.
Hopper invents a compiler in 1951, and it allows people who don't have PhDs in mathematics to start talking with these machines, to start programming these machines.
Well, what I felt was that there were a large number of people in the country who did not like symbols. They were not mathematicians, and they hated symbols. So let them write their programs in English. It was common sense.
That was the real insight of Grace Hopper, is that she was able to look at this machine and understand that if you could talk about things in a higher level language, it would make things simpler and also more reusable.
So this idea she had that then morphed into really being the basis for COBOL was really 50 years ahead of its time or something.
It was a very powerful language. The reason why it's gained so much in popularity is that back in the day, it was adopted, and it was definitely sanctioned by the government. And so everyone started using it.
By the year 2000, 70% of all active code in the world is COBOL code.
There's still billions of lines of code running COBOL.
So Hopper knew that she was creating software for computers even long before there was such a term.
A lot of people know the old version of Grace Hopper, the admiral who wears the admiral's uniform. By that time, she'd probably shrunk from 5'3" to 5 foot. Weighed maybe 100 pounds, very wrinkled, smoked a lot. And that's the public image that existed for many years. What I discovered in the picture archives is a very vibrant, beautiful young woman who was adept, I think, at working through male-dominated organizations with not only her humor and sarcasm, but also her charm.
She was naturally charming. She was naturally friendly. She naturally liked to get her own way. And she realized early on that she would do that better with sugar than with vinegar.
By the time she's older, I don't think she had the ability to necessarily identify with the new generation of feminists.
Even though she was a trailblazer, she never admitted that a trail needed to be blazed. She was very interesting in that respect. She always thought that women had an equal opportunity with men. They didn't need special guidance or special mentoring. As long as they worked hard and were capable, they would be recognized just the same as men. The fact that that wasn't actually true and was obvious to most people around her was something she never admitted.
What about women's lib in the last 15, 20 years?
I don't know much about it because I didn't have to worry about it. I was in the Navy.
When she was named Computing's Man of the Year, she didn't care at all that it was man and not woman. She probably thought it was amusing, but it certainly didn't bother her. It's very interesting, these two sides of her character.
In 1967, when most people should be retiring, she rejoins the military, builds a new career for the next 20 years, and works her way all the way up to admiral. The military starts using her as a spokesperson, and they start coining her as the mother of computing, the mother of programming.
At 76, she's the oldest person in the Navy on active duty. That's right, active duty. If you have trouble believing that, you're not alone.
We've got to move to the future. The one phrase I've always disliked is that awful one, but we've always done it that way. That's why I kept that backward clock in my office.
Hopper had a clock that ran backwards in her office, and it would stop people in their tracks when they walked in to check the time. Everybody would check their watches, look at the clock, and then they'd say, "How can you figure out what the time is?" And she said, there is absolutely no reason that it has to go one way. She also had a Jolly Roger, the pirate flag, on her desk, because if she needed something, she was going to find a way to liberate it from the Pentagon, usually in the depths of night when there was nobody around.
You've got to understand that the percentage of women in the computing discipline is still quite low.
And they have no historic knowledge of how many women had contributed as pioneers in the early days.
We host the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing, the largest gathering of technical women in the world.
The whole idea was we have great women in computing. We should celebrate the fact that they're here, and we should help encourage them, inspire them to do even more. We should be a place where women who aren't sure about this kind of career can see how inspired and passionate and enthusiastic the women who are in the field are.
It is an eye-opener to actually see there are this many women in this field.
We all literally were screaming, "Oh my God, we exist. There's other girls like us. We're not the only ones."
There's a big lack of knowledge among women in the computing field these days about Grace Hopper.
That first core group that invented most of the tenets of programming are Grace Hopper, some of her team from Harvard, and some of the original women from the ENIAC project solving these difficult problems.
I think it's so important to have role models, because then it's like, oh, if she did it, then it's definitely possible for me to do it.
You know, she's like an Edison, you know, of our day, like a Turing. And yet Hopper isn't in those names in the history books, and it needs to be, and that's one of the things we can fix.
We talk about our natural resources. We talk about oil and coal and timber. I think we all too often forget that the greatest natural resource we have is our young people. They're our future.
Do I think Grace would enjoy the title Queen of Code? No, I think she thought all those things were silly. She would hate the idea of being queen. I wouldn't inflict that on her.